Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Life from the Inside Out with Kris. If you've been watching our shows, welcome back. If you're new here, just in a few moments, we're going to dig into some wisdom and deep trance channeling with Kris. And we're always talking about some interesting, just broad ranges of topics, but a lot about metaphysics. So if you're new here, welcome. And I hope you enjoy the episode. And if you want to help out the channel, you could hit the like button, subscribe, and we'll be planning to keep doing this for a while, Serge. So, how you doing
Hey
today?
Dan, I'm good. And yourself? Had a good weekend?
Yeah, I'm just getting done with vacation and getting ready to go back to work tomorrow. But spent a lot of time in the nature, taking a lot of walks, and taking it easy.
Oh, that's very nice. We actually had a fairly nice weekend yesterday and today. A bit breezy, but other than that, nice. Laid back and so on. So,
Yep, it's this is a really in California where I'm at. This is just the gorgeous time of the year. It's like the real summer, and oddly enough, in August and then into September and even into October is when you have your summer weather. So, it's really interesting, but it's just like a nice 70 degrees, sunny most of the time, and mid 70s. It's just beautiful.
hmm. I think here we are past because a couple of weeks ago we had almost a week of 98 Fahrenheit here,
Ooh,
which is unusually hot. Um, and then it seemed to come back down to more normal temperatures. So that's quite nice.
yeah. Well, that's all I've got today. I wonder if Kris has anything cooked up for us that he'd would like to talk about. I think I know the answer to that
I,
already.
I I'm sure he does. I mean, in the 41 years I've been doing this, he's never been at a loss for words
Yeah.
ever. So I'm sure he'll have something up his non-physical sleeve.
All right.
So I guess we could see what he's got to say.
All right. Sounds like a plan.
Cool. Now we trust that you are comfortable.
Yes. Thank you, Kris.
Indeed. And we thank you for your consideration, and we thank the listeners for their consideration.
Thank you as well.
Because after all, we are not doing this specifically to hear each other talk.
True, true.
We are here to share of information that is helpful, that can assist an individual in enhancing their quality of life, usually by recognizing that which does not work in their lives and recognizing that which already works. And to that effect, this is an area that many people seem to have difficulties with in understanding expectations. But we are going to use it in a rather regular fashion. Expectations amongst people, and specifically expectations put upon by children or put upon children from parents who have lived an unfulfilled life, or from other individuals who are having an unfulfilled life and expect children, their children, other people's children, to more or less fulfill those empty areas of their lives. And this becomes extremely problematic for the children because they may have aspirations of their own. They may have dreams they want to reach for and bring into reality to actualize. And in order to please the parents, in order to be valued and respected, to be part of the family, they often put aside those dreams, those aspirations they want to reach for, thinking on the one hand that perhaps the parents know better, until at some point they themselves recognize that they have been acting on the premise that they needed to please other people and specifically the parents. As an example, a young woman spent 7 years doing her degrees, her diplomas, her certifications, her PhDs, her thesis, 7 years through the system towards becoming a doctor. All the while, her heart yearning for music. She ended up being so torn with this particular life situation that when she graduated, she took her diploma, brought it to her parents, handed it to them, and said, "Here is your diploma. Now I'm going to become a musician," and left. This is just one small sample amongst hundreds, if not thousands or more, of individuals who expect their children or other members to follow their dreams that still may remain unfulfilled, thinking it would obviously be best for the child. All the while ignoring, discounting, and literally brushing off the child's own identity, personality, and causing crises in that young individual. And this is far more common than is generally recognized, and it is becoming a bigger and bigger problem. And it has been for a long time. When an individual does not recognize that their own dreams, their own aspirations, the things that inspire them but does not actually take them anywhere because of their own restraints. And this is then handed down to the child, then the child also suffers greatly. This is a great situation that may indeed be beautifully addressed if it is recognized. Even your great therapist, Carl Jung, stated that the greatest burden a child must bear is the unfulfilled life of their parents. So in that respect, a simple recognition that their children, for example, are a little bundle of dreams, all waiting to be activated, all waiting to be unleashed into the universe, so to speak. And to discount this does a great disservice. It begins the process of self-disapproval in the child. Because in the child's mind, if they do not follow what their parents dream of for them, they are being disloyal. So their actions may seem counterproductive. They must suppress who they are and who they want to be in order to please others. And in the long run, this ends up creating a great amount of frustration. And in return, you have a buildup of resentment and animosity that the child takes onto themselves. The children, at a certain point, will not accuse the parents, but will suppress their own dreams, their own desires, thereby creating self-disapproval. They will not approve of any thoughts or ideas or urges or instincts that lead them to their own dreams. They will curb their own enthusiasm in order to do what the parent wants them to do, up until the point they realize that they are no longer living their own lives. They are living the life, whether it is a parent or someone else, and they have become that other person, losing themselves in the process. Therefore, it is to everyone's benefit to begin to recognize what is what, who is who, and what kind of dreams can be brought to reality. And mostly, and most importantly, any dream with sufficient energy behind it deserves the opportunity towards fulfillment. If you consider someone's dream, especially your child's dream, as unworthy of fulfillment because it would not meet your expectation, then it might also mean that you have issues with being unfulfilled yourself. And to recognize that would save both you and your child or children a great amount of sorrow. So the parent, if you do have some unfulfilled dreams, recognize it. Do not pass the burden on to your children. Instead, take every necessary action to work towards fulfilling those dreams, even if later in life. And there are many, many people all over the globe whom later on in life take the necessary steps to fulfill their dreams. There are people who graduate into the 90s, others who take up projects much later in life. They become authors, they become artists, painters, musicians, much later in life to fulfill their dreams, and to their own amazement, recognize that perhaps if they hadn't delayed for whatever reason, this would now have become their full-fledged life. So we're only speaking about this to encourage anyone who also recognizes that if you happen to know or notice or recognize that you are living somebody else's life and dream, and that you have your own, please find a way to move towards your own personal fulfillment without delay and without passing judgment or opinions on the matter. But just find the ways to put this into perspective, into context with the life you have now. And follow that dream. If you follow other people's dreams, you will be living other people's lives. If you follow your dream, you are living your life. Short, sweet, and simple. So it comes down to, whose life do you want to live anyway? Just like the old show, whose life is it anyway? Whose life do you want to live? Do you want to live your life, or do you want to live somebody else's life? It is a rather basic equation, if you like, because this is a situation that occurs all over the world, all the time. Especially if the parents come from some area of the world, perhaps where they had lost everything, had to start over again, their own dreams apparently squashed, stolen from them. They will have a certain amount of desire to try and find a way for their children to live what they could not. Again, perhaps even ignoring or obliterating the dreams of their own children. So we just wanted to put this out there, as you like to say. So if you recognize any of this occurring in your life, either from a parent's point of view or from the child's point of view, find the necessary means to turn the situation around. Start looking at your own dreams, how to fulfill them, whether later in life or early in life, but do not stop yourself at living other people's dreams. Nothing will hurt you more than acquiescing to being somebody else in your life. Be your own person. Be free. And if you do recognize the yoke of other people's expectations upon you, then by all means, just like Atlas, shrug it away. Does this make sense to you?
Yes, Kris. Also eerily personal, but we don't need to go into all the details. But yeah, I suspect that many people in my generation or other generations of folks have faced something similar. It's really interesting. We have a Sunday group where we check in with each other, and this was kind of one of the themes of getting of our check-ins this morning, was of getting in touch with with our own dreams and moving towards that. And yeah, so that's interesting. It's coming up again.
Indeed. And those particular kinds of dreams that you hold close to your heart and you want to see fulfilled in one way or another, you want to see them fleshed out, become your reality and your experience, are what you are here for. So to put all of that aside, pretending to be charitable and virtuous because you decide that someone else knows what is best for you, may do you a great disservice. It is, in effect, robbing you of your life and somebody else of their dream as well. Because in projecting this expectation onto, say, a child, and the parent is also robbing themselves of the opportunity to take necessary steps and actions towards fulfilling those dreams for themselves and not pass on the yoke to someone else. Nothing damages a family more than suppressed resentment along those very lines, where eventually it explodes like Pompeii or Vesuvius or Krakatoa, an emotional volcanic eruption where after all is said and done, nobody ever speaks to each other again. And there is very little chance of reconciliation. So there are things that can be done to prevent it from getting there. And one of those things is head it off at the pass. Recognize what might be unfulfilled to you. Do not pass it on to your children. Instead, encourage your children's dreams and aspirations to actually become fleshed out so that your children and their dreams become the reality for them.
And I've been exploring this concept as a parent for a while. And there's an interesting thing that happens too, in that if you don't try and dictate the dreams of your children and you do what you're talking about, you allow them to follow their own interests. It is interesting how many of their interests, though, would then naturally follow some of the interests of the parents without forcing it.
And
And
that
with
is
certain patterns.
significantly important. Significantly important. There is no coercion. And yet, even though it may follow the stream like the parents' own dreams, it will still evolve to be a completely different product. It will be the child's own unique rendition, unique expression of that dream. And then the parent may be significantly surprised. And it may even encourage the parent to follow their own dream even later in life. And it could also very well be said that the evolution of the child's dream in certain variations of time and space, the unfolding of the child's dream could actually be influencing the parent's own dreams. Because in many ways, the child represents the future of those very parents. So there is an interesting energy dynamic in the situation when it is handled and delivered lovingly, when it is handled and delivered with coercion, threats, and a strong arm, then nobody likes themselves. Neither does the parent nor the child. And of course, considering the dynamics of children's minds, they would make themselves feel less responsible and guilty for the unfulfilled dreams of their own parents. So there is a double burden onto the child. So everyone can do themselves a great favor by recognizing the situation before it gets out of control. And if need be, see a family therapist. Discuss these situations with the children and find the best way to help your child grow their dreams and grow into their dream life. You will find yourself as a parent quite likely also following suit in your own way. And be thankful that your child followed their dreams because now you can follow yours. So your children can become your inspiration. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I follow you totally.
Such human dreams are always fascinating to observe because of the dynamics both in the family and their friends and relatives, and how they make life possible or impossible for themselves and others. So it also has to do with attitude and mindset. If you considered at some point in time that your dreams were impossible to fulfill, you will also make certain your children's and other people's dreams are impossible to fulfill. If, on the other hand, you consider the very distinct possibility and you take the attitude that somehow your dreams are possible and can become real for you, you will nurture, encourage your children's and other people's dreams. As Oprah is wont to say, you get a dream, everybody gets a dream.
Just find
You
it
can
under
even
your.
look under the seat.
This is what I was going to say. It's under your seat.
Indeed. Your dreams are available and possible unless you decide they are not. That is the bottom line. So you get to decide. Isn't that amazing? You, as an individual, get to decide what is possible and what is not for you. Isn't that amazing? You have that kind of power.
What I was going to mention earlier, it seems a little bit, I want to say, like a misunderstanding of their own power if if the parents trying to fulfill their dreams through the child, is that
And
even
living
possible?
vicariously.
Yeah, is
It
that
is,
even
it is
possible?
not.
It's not the point of their power. It's fulfilling their own dream, and so it's sort of a
Yes.
recipe for
You cannot
dissatisfaction.
impose your dreams, your opinions, your attitudes onto other people. Period. You are the only one who can manage your dreams, your opinions, your judgments, and they are not worthy of expressing to others. They are, however, your own dreams are worthy of fulfillment by you. This is how you gain your sense of self worth, your sense of identity, not just as a member of society, but as an individual. Therefore, you do not have to suppress your own thoughts, feelings, and emotions, nor those of others. Surprise, surprise. What a world it would be if you did this simple thing. Just fulfill your dreams. That is the only expectation that we expect you to fulfill is your dreams. Now, would you like to add anything else? Please feel free. As a parent yourself, you might have recognized a few things here and there along this monologue or dialogue or whatever log it is.
Well, I was only thing that was coming to me was the idea of maybe you might call it trauma or even generational trauma or shadow self, something like that. And then because I think a lot of the parents are even they're not conscious of this either. It's not something they're fully aware of that they're engaging in either. So I think that plays a role as well.
Indeed, because it was practiced by them from their parents and their parents from their parents before, and so on. There is a story about a man with his children visiting his grandparents, and he is asked to cut the turkey for Thanksgiving dinner. And his parents are very precise as to how he should cut the turkey. It has to be this way and not that way. It has to be this deep and not that deep. And eventually the man says, why? Why does it have to be that way? And the parents said, well, that's the way we've always done it. That's the way our parents did it. And yet there are perhaps hundreds of different ways to cut a turkey. But it has to be that one way, simply because this is how it was done before and before and before, and no one questioned. So it is also a very good thing to question the premises of your life. As Joseph and even ourselves have spoken about lately, ask yourself what has formed or shaped your life. This is one of those things where you can break it down and recognize, well, it is simply because you have always done that and never questioned. Once you start questioning, you realize, oh, I could have done it any way I wanted. Does that make some sense?
Yeah, and, just an example for me today. I kind of woke up in a little bit of a brooding mood, I guess you could say. I was feeling a little sleepy and tired and unproductive, and I noticed that rather than just staying in that mood, my dream for the day or what I really want to do was just go out in nature and meander, or at least something told me that that would help me to kind of flip this mood. And it was interesting because it would work really really well. I felt fantastic afterwards. And the other thing is, I also, in doing something like that, when you go to chase that dream, you might encounter other beliefs. For instance, as I was walking around, quote unquote, like doing nothing, just sort of wandering in the woods, I was facing like, I should be productive. I should be working on this. I was like, I'm like, oh, I have beliefs around that. So sometimes following these dreams can also be a pathway to see if there's any sort of beliefs maybe working against yourself, or moving you in a particular direction you don't want to move anymore.
Indeed. And might we offer a very small and quick practice that can be applied when you do wake up? It will not take away from the ultimate conclusion, which was to go foresting, but it will clear up your brain because you woke up with a little bit of a moody brain fog. So it is simple, and it is important to tug your right earlobe whilst applying thumb pressure right at the inset here, just between your eye and the bridge of your nose together. Take a deep breath, hold it, and then release with a sigh. And you might find almost immediate relief, or two or three more times, but almost immediately will feel a shift in the mood, and it will clear your brain fog. How did you feel after you did that?
Yeah, I feel more clear. I often notice a relation between particularly sighing and that release of that. But yeah, not a huge change. I was feeling pretty centered, and as we went into our conversation, so, but maybe a little shift.
Indeed.
Yeah.
And also, if you have sinus congestion, you can do the very same thing here and here, and then the opposite. Same process. It will also help clear sinuses. Because there is a energetic connection between sinus congestion and clarity of thought. So this works both. Now, would you want to add anything to the discussion or some other observation?
No, not right now. I think this was a great discussion. It's going to be a juicy episode for a lot of people, a lot of listeners.
Indeed. Then we thank you for your consideration, and may the juices of life flow freely. And we return Joseph.
All right. Thanks, Kris. Awesome episode.